Afternoon, Stephen. How are you?
I'm doing not too bad, living the dream. Although I say that all the time. I must get myself a new catchphrase. Do you know that?
Which one? Not bad or living the dream?
Oh, the living the dream thing. Yeah, it is a bit of a dream, actually, isn't it? Running your own business is a kind of a dreamy thing, I guess, but quite tough as well.
Well, Stephen, welcome to the Business Spotlight. Thanks very much for taking the time to chat with me today. Could we start? Could you tell me a little about yourself, your background, and your business, please?
Yeah, so I'm Stephen Swann. I started work for a local bank many years ago. That's the grey hair, and that was really good fun. I started programming, working on mainframes. My first piece of code was actually on punch cards, which is quite incredible. And I worked there for about 17 years, and then decided I want to go and do something else. So I went and became a consultant and got exposure to lots of other different industries and organizations. And after about 13 years of doing that, I thought, you know what? I'd love to create some kind of environment where young folk can maybe get the experiences that I've had. And it was kind of during COVID. I was coming up to my 50th birthday, and I thought, well, if I don't do this now, I'll probably never do it. So I thought, I'm going to do it. I'm going to create my own business. We're going to be a consultancy practice, and we're going to focus very much on just identity and access management. And I'm going to hire in young kids straight out of university with no experience and train them up myself. And I did. And 4 years later, we still exist. So that's a positive, I guess. And we do have some employees who have stuck with us as well during that period. So it's been fun so far.
And if you look back, is this what you always either wanted to do or envisaged doing?
Well, I've been talking about it for many years. Did I always envisage that I would do it? Probably not. Whenever I was young, I was quite good at maths at school, so I thought I want to do something with numbers. And my parents got me a ZX Spectrum back in about 1982, 1983. That dates me. And I did a lot of coding on the Spectrum. I didn't use it just to play games. So I always thought I want to go into some kind of IT. I want to do something with numbers. And I ended up as a trainee programmer in a bank at the age of 18, which I thought, this is brilliant. All my dreams have come true. But it's probably fair to say I didn't really have too many plans. I kind of just enjoyed doing what I was doing and got promoted and did other things and so on. I didn't really have a plan to do anything, but I kept on thinking it might be nice to start my own business at some point. Kind of thought I'll probably never get around to doing it. And that's the whole, hey, I'm nearly 50. If I'm not going to do it now, I'm never going to do it. So I guess that's how it's happened.
And help me understand your target market. Who benefits the most from working with Madigan?
That is a very good question. Like I said, we are focused on identity and access management. We're an IBM business partner, so we resell IBM software, and we have our own products as well. But identity and access management software from IBM, we kind of target a special kind of organization. They tend to be organizations with at least 1,000 employees and above. Anyone below that, I don't know, it'd be difficult to make it cost effective for them potentially. That's not to say that we wouldn't try to make it cost effective. I'm always happy to talk to anybody. But that tends to be the sweet spot for us. It's those organizations that have more than 1,000 employees and probably up to maybe 15, 20,000 employees. Beyond that, I think egos start to get in the way and they don't necessarily want to deal with a boutique organization like us. And I should point out, actually, that it's not just the size of organization. It's financial services, it's pharmaceutical, energy. It really goes across all of the various sectors.
And what would you say has been your biggest lesson since launching the business?
If you want something done, you gotta do it yourself. Don't wait for other people to bring work to you. I thought naively maybe that reselling IBM software, that there would be some kind of almost automatic route to market. That people would think, oh, IBM, I want to buy their software, and I wouldn't have to do that much legwork to get the work. That's not necessarily true. You still have to work quite hard to in some way become relevant and have people trust you. So yeah, I would say you just got to put in the hard yards, unfortunately.
And what have you learned about yourself along the way, Stephen?
Um, I used to think I was quite impatient, and I suppose if you speak to my wife and kids, they would say I'm definitely impatient. But I think I've got way more patience than I thought I had. Um, Dealing with the youngsters that we've hired has been quite challenging. They don't know very much at all. They've got almost no experience at all. And I'm having to give up an awful lot of my time to try and help them. But I found I quite like that. And I do have way more patience than I thought I ever would have. They might not say that either, though, thinking about it. But hey, that's the truth in my mind anyway.
And how hands-on are you in the development of the young people that you bring into the business?
Very much hands-on. We do have three directors, but most of the training is probably undertaken by me. Most of the standing up in front of whiteboards and doing the education sessions is probably me. And actually banging the keyboards and actually doing some kind of programming and system integration is still a lot of that is done by me. But I've always enjoyed doing that, so it's not as if I'm complaining about it at all. If someone else wanted to do it, I'd probably be a bit upset.
Okay, interesting. And what about who's influenced you along your journey through the bank, through consultancy, and through your launching your business?
Oh, that's a tricky one. Influenced me. Probably this is going to sound really bad. It's not. I'm not saying this because I feel that I have to say it, but it is probably true. But it's probably my wife. I met my wife in the bank. She was also in the same department, and she's been very encouraging over the years. To be honest, anything that I wanted to go and do, she was right behind me all the way.
Very good. And what gets you out of bed nowadays that drives your passion for your business?
Other than the alarm clock and the feeling that you have to because you're the business owner, no one else is going to do it for you. I still enjoy it. I haven't hit that stage in my career where I think I can't be doing this any longer. I have spoken to some people recently who say that they are definitely at that stage and they're ready to retire. I'm nowhere near that stage at this point in time. So getting up, coming into work, coming into the office, seeing the kids come into the office and seeing them grow and develop is probably the thing that I enjoy the most.
And what would be your, if in the unlikely event you were stranded on a desert island and could either read a book or listen to a podcast, anything like that, what would you choose?
I do read a lot of books. I'm not as much into my podcast. I used to be. I don't seem to have that much time for it, but which is a bit strange because reading a book is way more time consuming than listening to the podcast. But I think if I was stranded on a desert island, I'd probably want to listen to a podcast, and I'd probably want to listen to In Our Time. That's the BBC podcast run by Melvin Bragg. I think they're up to something like 1,000 episodes now over many, many years. And I think it's just because they touch on so many disparate subjects and have really clever people coming in and talking about those subjects. So I always feel as if I'm learning something. Although I am of an age now where I know that information maybe goes into my head, rattles about for a bit and doesn't spend that much time in there, to be honest. So I don't have the capacity to retain the information, but I certainly enjoy In Our Time.
Come on, Stephen, you'll never be as young again as you are today. So let's we'll stick with
Oh,
that.
that's a cheery thought. Thanks for that.
What about challenges? So tell me, what's the biggest challenge that you're currently facing in your business?
Um, I guess in any kind of small business, there's always lots of kind of common challenges. You know, cash flow is always a challenge. Chasing people to pay their invoices is always a bit of a challenge. Finding new work and making sure that you still have that pipeline is quite a challenge as well. And especially for us, we are a technology firm. The I would say quite a large number of our employees are probably on the spectrum somewhere. They like sitting in front of that screen, banging away at the keyboard, not necessarily talking to people. Whereas building a pipeline requires you to go out and almost press the flesh and talk to people. So I would say, as an organization, we're not naturally that outgoing. Hey, even doing this podcast is quite a bit of a leap for me. So that would be a challenge. I think the next time we hire someone, it might have to be some kind of business development manager and someone who's quite happy to go out there and be told no over and over and over again, you know, because that's not really us. I guess the other problem is the world it's a bit freaky at the minute. You know, I turn on the news every night and I don't know. It's almost as if you're watching "Have I Got News for You" rather than BBC News at 10 o'clock. It's just a little bit nuts at the minute. So I think the world is a bit strange. It's a bit chaotic. I do see that from an economic perspective, businesses are a little bit more cagey and wary at the minute and investing in huge projects. So that's a challenge. And of course, you've got AI now. You know, we can't have conversations with our customers without having to talk about AI, and it's kind of boring and a bit tedious in a way, but you almost have to do it. You have to stamp every single project with some kind of AI infused message. And I will give you one final one. That's probably recruiting the right people. It's not that easy, and recruiting youngsters out of university who don't have any kind of CV that demonstrates that they're going to be in any way a good fit for you, you are taking quite a risk there. It is a challenge to try and find good quality people.
Who does the recruitment in your business?
It's mostly between me and one of the other directors, Natasha. She's the general manager. So between us, we try to do most of that heavy lifting ourselves. We have engaged with recruiters in the past to try and weed out some of the very dodgy CVs. That's been okay, I suppose. That's worked for us in a way. But yeah, whenever it comes down to the actual selection process, that would be me and Natasha.
And if you could invite any three people to a dinner party, alive or dead, who would you invite?
Alive or dead? Oh, I've never really been one for hero worship. Do you know that? Because I just think people are just people, even if they're on TV or they're in the movies or something like that. I have met famous people in the past and always come away thinking, well, they're no more special than I am. So I would probably struggle to think of people. Well, actually, I will give you some names. And this time I won't be cheesy and say, you know, my wife and my friends. It would be really quite cool to have Oscar Wilde come along. I just think the wit would have me in stitches. I'd probably quite like to have Christopher Hitchens come along. Again, he's just so smart and so intelligent, and his arguments are so well put together, and he's so quick. And I think just to ramp up the fun, I'd like to have Claudia Winkleman come along. There's something about Claudia just makes me feel quite happy inside.
I know, but would you not? It would make me feel uncomfortable. I wouldn't be there, to be fair, because you haven't invited me. But would she be standing behind the table, you know, getting you to vote for each other? I don't know, like in the Traitors.
Yeah, quite possibly. That's quite a good program. That actually, I really enjoyed that. That and Strictly Come Dancing. Yeah, I do like a bit of Claudia.
Very good. And what about if you could go back, Stephen, and dish out some advice to your 18-year-old self? What would that sound like?
Ooh, interesting question, because you know that person. I know that I was that person. I was 18 at some point. but it's almost as if that's a completely different person from who I am today. It's kind of strange, and I guess that's only natural, right? You go through these phases where you almost regenerates every, I don't know, 7 years, 10 years, or whatever it is. You know, I certainly don't feel like the same person I was whenever I was 40, never mind 18. I don't know that I would have that much advice for that guy, though. He did all right. I guess whenever I was 18, I thought, you know, I'll just try everything. I'd be quite happy to give it a go. And I think that was the right approach. So don't ever say no to anything. Give it a go. You never know until you try, all those kind of things. And I think it worked out okay for me, you know, and maybe I would say, do you know what? It's going to be good.
And instead of looking back, let's look forward. So what does Madigan Solutions look like in, say, 5 years' time?
Well, you know, we will have made our millions and I'll be sitting on a boat in the Caribbean drinking champagne, hopefully. Hopefully the organization will still be running and will be able to pay for that kind of lifestyle. But in all seriousness, I think I would like for us to probably double in size. We're at a funny stage in our evolution. I think we need to double, and actually not double inside 5 years, but probably double inside the next 2 years. And I think that would help us grow. I also think that what I'd like us to be is a trusted advisor in the identity space. And I like to think we already are, but making people aware that you even exist is quite tough. It's a very competitive industry. So really, I want people to think, oh yeah, I've heard of those guys. They're quite good. You know, even that would be really quite nice. So that's what I would like. I'd like for us to be respected in the industry. I'd like for us to grow and more than double in size. Yeah.
And if somebody would like to reach out and get in touch with you, Stephen, or the business, what would be the best way for them to go about that?
Oh, I'm probably the easiest person to contact on the planet. You know, all social and media channels are open. But if you pop along to madigansolutions.com, you'll see my face probably somewhere in there with links to my LinkedIn profile. And you know, I'm normally pretty good at picking up the phone and answering the phone too. Mostly that's because of what I said earlier. You know, try everything, give it a go. You don't know what's going to happen, and it's amazing the kind of things that you learn just by having a conversation with someone, even if it's a seller trying to sell you something that you're just not interested in. So yeah, I'm the easiest person to get in contact, but LinkedIn, madigansolutions.com, you'll definitely get me.
Brilliant. Well, Stephen Swann from Madigan Solutions, thanks very much for taking the time to chat with me today. I wish you all the success for the rest of this year and beyond. Stephen, thanks very much indeed.
Thank you, Peter. It was a pleasure.